Welcome to Backstage with Richard Ridge. Currently at Roundabout Theatre Company is the delightfully dark new musical comedy Scotland, PA. And we're here at the legendary Sardi's, and my guests are the show's composer, Adam Gwon, and its two stars, Ryan McCartan and Taylor Iman Jones. Listen, welcome. Thank you for all sitting with me here today at Sardi's.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Okay. I adore this show. I mean, Scotland, PA, what a really cute, beautiful musical this all is.
Thank you.
So tell me, how exciting is it being a part of a brand new musical? I'll start with you two as the performers.
It's super cool.
Yeah.
It's very cool. I mean, it's so rare that you get to bring so much of yourself into something and have so much say over really anything you do in the musical theater scene. And so it's exciting to get to bring new, fresh choices to it, and also the roller coaster of how something brand new gets a response from people, because it's new to us, it's new to them,
Yeah.
so we're all figuring it out at the same time, and that's really buzzy and cool.
Ryan, for you.
My favorite part about it is the acknowledgement that you're contributing to a lineage of something, that we are at the very beginning, the inception of something that I think we all know is going to be produced and performed all over the place, and to know that consciously or subconsciously, in a massive way or even in the smallest way, the conversations that we had in the rehearsal room, the tiny things that we did, spur of the moment in front of an audience, preview 13, whatever, those minute little things contribute to the lineage on a macro level of this show forever. And whoever plays Pat 10 minutes or 10 years from now, whoever plays Mac, has to respond to those choices inherently, whether they want to or not. That's cool about originating a role, that we are all participating together in that, whether they know it or not. It's just that's the magic of theater, I think.
And Adam, for you, I mean, creating a musical, I mean, they're in the DNA of this show now.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think that's the most exciting part of the process for me, too, is that we write this thing that exists on the page, but it doesn't really become a musical until it's up on stage with actors playing the parts.
Yeah.
And that's why in a world premiere production, the cast you have become part of the DNA. They're the blood that's flowing through the stuff that I've written that really makes it come alive. And part of that process is like stealing from these guys and making the musical a living, breathing thing. So it's exciting.
Now talk about your book partner.
Yes. He is a wonderful playwright named Michael Mitnick.
Yes.
And we were actually introduced by the Roundabout, who commissioned this musical. I was looking for new playwrights to collaborate with, and Roundabout said, I think you might get along with this guy. And we had coffee, and on our first meeting, he said, I think you should watch this movie called Scotland, PA. And so that just set us off on this path to Sardi's. Yes.
What about for you two? Did you know the movie before you went in for your auditions and stuff?
No. I've never heard of it, no. It's hard to find.
It's very hard.
Yeah.
What happened? Someone else told me that today.
Yeah, the movie, when Michael first told me to watch it, it was easier to find.
Yeah.
And then about a year later, it had gone out of print, and was very difficult to find. And I'm actually very happy to report that because of our musical, they're reissuing the movie.
That's how it's done.
Yes, they're remastering it as we speak.
Wow.
And Scotland, PA will again be available to watch as a film.
You're welcome, You're welcome.
But that must be great, though, that now people can see, well, we'll go see the musical instead, and we'll wait for the movie to come back out on DVD.
Yeah, well, and it's funny, the movie it has kind of a cult following, but it's very underground, and so it's sort of exciting to see things going the reverse way, where a musical gets people interested about a movie as opposed to vice versa. Yeah. It's been fun.
What unlocked? More now, I feel like that's happening more and more, where the movie is actually sort of unknown, and then the musical unearths this interest. I think there's a common misconception that the participation only happens one way.
Yeah.
The musical is made out of the movie, the movie sort of puts the musical on the map rather than vice versa. But I feel like the musical version of things is sort of lifting the publicity of the movie a lot more than used to be the case. Because musicals are cool.
They are. What unlocked it for you to write? Was there something, a big unlock moment that you're like, oh, now we're on our path?
I think initially the era of the story was very exciting to me musically. Just being able to dive into all of those sounds from the 70s. I think it's a really exciting time period for pop music, and I was able to bring a lot of different colors that felt authentic but also felt theatrical to the musical. So that was an initial unlocking moment for me. And then I remember the very first song we wrote was a very different version of Pat's first song. Sure. And it was more, as often happens with the first songs you write in shows, it's sort of told the whole story of the whole character in one song, and so you have to cut it because you're like, oh, well, we need to have the whole musical do that.
Not just 5 minutes.
Song. Yeah. But that for me was now her first song is more in scene with Mac, but that initial song was more of an internal monologue for her, and that was something that helped me understand how we could take this film and musicalize it. That there are all of these great moments of subtext in the film with like great close-ups and really great film acting from those actors that we could unearth and sort of articulate in song, and so that was another moment where the musical of this story came to life to me, and I think led to being able to write other songs like Mac's big soliloquy song at the end, just these moments where we're taking stuff that's in the film but not articulated, and really putting it sort of on the surface in the musical.
How cool are these roles to play? It's so great to watch you two and watch all of you up there. Like, talk about who you play, what you love about her.
Oh man, so my character's name is Pat, and she is Lady M, really the equivalent of from the Scottish play, and it's really cool. I mean, it feels like a lot of pressure in the beginning because it's quite an honor, and it kind of feels like, well, here's this responsibility, have fun, and you're like, oh, okay, don't break it. But at the end of the day, it's really fun. It's fierce. We get to kind of dig into the worst parts of yourselves, but also like the most beautiful parts of yourselves. The best part about these two characters is they kind of live in this extreme always. They love hard, they work hard, they go for it hard, and it's lucky to have someone to have so much fun with on stage, and that we both just kind of like dive in the deep end and like ride the ride, and it's great.
Ryan, for you.
I mean, quickly, I will piggyback off that point that I do not think I have ever had the honor of sharing the stage with as compassionate and giving a performer as Taylor. I mean, I trust you. I almost said her, but like you're saying right now. I trust Taylor so much. We have this understanding. We like each other, which really helps. And that just I think that's a good segue into answering your original question. Mr. and Mrs. M from the source material. I think you can interpret them as a team, but I also think you can I interpret them as separate cogs that are a part of this machination. I think a lot of the times it's sort of like Lady M is this villain, and her sort of villainous intrigue and ideas infect him, and that causes him to do these things. And that isn't the case in the source material, but it certainly isn't the case in our piece as well. And I think the more that we can influence the audience to believe, and I do believe we do a good job of this, that this is a team effort, that these are people, and also it's illustrative. Adam does such a good job of articulating the decade through the music, but dramaturgically, the 70s are actually very similar to our times now. The generational differences between the hippies and the yuppies, and rising above your station, feeling like you are in a socioeconomic trap that you can't get out of, and what it takes to get out of it, and the things that we have to do, but again, that we do as a team, that camaraderie. It doesn't feel like leading man and his ingenue, which is just so hackneyed and dry now. That this is a team doing Shakespearean, intense, evil things to try to make their lives better. Bad things for a good reason. It's a really interesting thing to play and experience every night, and to listen to the audience experience too, and try to like, am I watching a drama or am I watching a comedy right now? What is happening? Am I on these people's side or not? It's really interesting.
But I just love the whole look of the show too. I mean, it's a burger joint it turns into, and it's crazy. When that whole reveal happens, people are like, yes! Then there's the fry later.
Oh my gosh.
What's it like working with all the props and everything you all do on stage? You two are like, waitress, I talk to a lot of the people who've gone into waitress and everything else, and it's like, how do you deal with the flower that blows in the air? How do you sing? And just finding all the props and stuff you use, like...
I mean, it's all staged, it's all choreographed, but it's kind of a gift and a curse at times, because you get, this is a show that does have a lot of props, so when you need something, boom, it's there, you don't have to pretend, but then now you're like, oh, I have to touch 15 things in 3 minutes and also sing and act and also act. But after a while, that's the whole beauty of theater, is you learn to find your freedom inside the rules, and every night it's kind of a little different bumper car of a journey through your maze, which that's how I would describe it.
I mean, well, and then there's also the intricacies of, like we have fake cigarettes, but they're fake in the terms that they aren't tobacco, but they're real in the sense that you light them and you smoke them and they ash on stage, and if they ash on stage, there's nothing you can do about that except just try to kick the ash around, and we have all of these papers that fly everywhere, and if they land on stage, we can't clean them up until intermission, so it's just sort of like, okay, there's paper, we have all this real food that goes into people's mouths, and if you I don't know, let's say you're doing a scene and you screw up and you drop it all on the floor. I'm not saying that's actually happened, but maybe let's say it has, and then you have to literally put it all in Megan Lawrence's mouth. And like, I'm so sorry, I just dropped all of this. Like, these are real realities, and it's just sort of like, okay, here we go.
Which it raises the stakes.
It gives us something to laugh about it.
Totally.
I'm just like, sorry, Megan, and she's like, I have 4 kids, I'm fine.
The 3-second rule, right? Like, if somebody drops on the floor, you pick it up really fast. Craziest thing that's gone wrong. Go ahead.
Well, no, I was just saying, to piggyback on that, is just the great thing about this cast in general is we all have each other's back. So when something goes wrong, there's always 5 hands going for that thing. Like, by the time you even realize something is on the ground, someone's already picked it up.
Sometimes we're fighting over who can save the show fast.
It's just like, we can trust each other, we can trust anybody in this whole cast. Oh, the craziest thing that went wrong was...
I'm excited for this one.
There's a moment where Ryan and I stand back, like I stand directly in front of him, and we're doing this in front of each other. So like we're doing this choreography bit, and then we're supposed to like turn around and sing at each other, and I go to turn around, and we both find out that my wig has got caught in one of his buttons
on the sleeve.
And so we're literally singing like this on stage while we're trying to have this whole like love out of here. So we're like, oh my god. And so like
I try to untangle it, and that doesn't work. So my great idea is just to take my shirt off.
So we start taking his shirt off, but then at that point it's untangled.
So now I just have my shirt. I don't know. God, it was really wild.
Oh my god, it was, and like I know, we both had a lot of friends there for some reason that night. Oh my god, but it was that
I think that is. I think that takes the cake.
You're like, it happens every night. You tell your friends, no, that's in the show. That's a wild thing,
There was another good one. We have these lawn chairs that are I mean, they're lawn chairs. They're constructed to be cheap, and that is conducive to
literally they don't make these chairs anymore. They had to find them on eBay because they don't make
disastrous. And so like if you give them any weight in the wrong direction, they just fold over and fall flat, and it's and like our first, I think, 2 previews in a row. Taylor sat down in her chair and it just collapsed underneath her, and so she's just sitting on a flat lawn chair on the floor.
But the thing is, we make this entrance in a blackout, so the lights come up, and we're supposed to just sitting on the lawn chair. So the lights come up, and I'm on the ground, and Ryan's in the lawn chair, and then Jay's on stage too.
Like, baby, you want to sit? No, you're going on. But so then we get up, we do a little scene-lit, and then J. Armstrong Johnson and Wanu, I never say her last name right, so Wanu.
Ogunfowora.
I'm a offensive. I'm the worst.
Ask her every day, practice.
They replace us in these chairs, and so Wanu sits down, and then Jay just sits on the floor, on the ground, without even, and it got applause. Like people were, and we were like, can we just add that into the show? Like, and again, it's even if something goes terribly wrong on stage with this cast, it's an opportunity. It is not an obstacle. That's the most amazing thing about them all.
Is there a go-to dressing room before the show? Like, is there a hangout room? Because who shares rooms?
There are many dressing spaces in the Roundabout.
Okay.
You know, it's a very well-compact theater, so all of the women are in one room.
Okay.
So we love it. I mean, I sit between Megan Lawrence and Lucreta and like just talk for hours and hours and hours and hours before the show.
Well, the amazing thing in the basement where the guys' dressing room is, like, there's this lab, because there's also the black box theater at the Roundabout has been transformed into our band room. Okay. And there's a big lobby, and the
square cubes are still there?
Yes, the square cubes are there. The square cubes are there. But the lobby's sort of been transformed into this like 70s rec room. Yes. There are movie posters of Jaws on the wall. They strung up lights so that they
like
set up a poker table.
Yeah, there's a poker table.
It's a very social time down in the basement.
So what's the guys' dressing room like?
Me, Jay, and Caleb share a dressing room, and then the rest of the men are in another dressing room.
Okay.
There's 2 dressing rooms down there. I mean, Jay and Caleb have become my 2 best friends in the shows because we spend so much time down there, and it's amazing. Yeah. It's absolutely amazing.
What was that defining moment for each of you when you were young and starting out? Could have been in school where you were like, you got that bug, you were like, I think I want to be a performer and try to make a living at this. Mm-hmm. Were you in high school doing a show?
I mean, yes, but that was after I had been bitten. But I got bitten by accident. I played sports. I got diagnosed with type 1 diabetes. I stopped playing sports. My sister came out of the womb singing and dancing. Yeah. We don't really know how. My dad's a principal and my mom works for Target, so like it doesn't really make sense. But that was the case for her, thank goodness. Yeah. So she was taking voice lessons from someone in Minneapolis. I went with because they couldn't get a babysitter. Yeah. At the end of the voice lesson, he asked if I could sing. My parents said, like, kind of, I don't know. He was like, well, let me just take 5 minutes. And what we didn't know was that he was in cahoots with an artistic director of a theater, and they were trying to cast a little boy in something. And he lied to them and was like, I found this really experienced, really competent young boy. You should definitely see him. So they saw me. They kept talking about, like, being so glad about all this experience I had. Me and my mom full on thought they were talking about, like, life experience, like I had this disease. and so I booked the role. Then they realized I had no insurance or experience. I did have insurance, thank goodness. Then I got the understudy because I didn't have the experience. Yeah. Then the guy I was understudying didn't want to come to rehearsal because it was Halloween, but I couldn't do Halloween because diabetes, that would be poison. And then that rehearsal went so well that then I got back bumped up, and then he got the understudy, and I've been doing theater ever since.
What show was it?
It was called The Christmas Schooner, and it was a musical about a boat that brought Christmas trees to Chicago.
And who did you play?
Carl. I don't know. He was like the son of the captain of the boat.
Did Carl sang in this show, right?
Oh yeah.
Did Carl do you have a song that you had?
Yep.
Do you know what it is?
There was a duet with my mother called Loving Sons, and the only thing that I remember about it is that I had this big like dance break where I like swept the kitchen, and one time I fell, and the entire audience was like, and I cried a little bit, but I just kept sweeping because the show had to go on. I don't know. I don't really remember.
They're like, he's so dramatic. What a great actor,
yeah,
right?
That's right. Yeah.
For you.
This is a long story.
No, I love that story. That's great.
Oh, I can't wait to hear more of it.
Yeah, totally.
I did my first musical because I was on like the dance team at school, and a friend of mine was like, "Do you want to try the local youth theater musical?" And I did, and it's Bugsy Malone. I also swept in that show. I was like the janitor, but I got my own song.
Did you fall though?
No, but I did miss a cue once, and I cried.
We're all the same.
We're all the same. And then I just kept doing it, you do youth theater, you do your local community youth theater, and then you graduate. And my parents, they were supportive of whatever I did. They were just like, once I graduated high school, they're like, you need to either have a job, you can continue to do this theater thing, but just have a job or go to school. I chose to get jobs. And then
Did they
just
use air quotes when they said beautiful? That's pretty salacious.
I know. But then it just kind of worked out. You just keep doing it and hustling, and
Whatever makes you happy.
Whatever makes you, no, of course now they're like, oh, we're so proud of you. You're like paying your rent. You know? I'm like, great, yeah, I am. Yeah.
Adam, for you.
For me, the music part of it was this thing that I like came out of the womb doing for some reason.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a kid, I would just go up to pianos anytime I encountered them and start sounding out songs that I knew. And so my parents were like, oh, he plays the piano. He hasn't had any lessons. And our neighbor, I grew up in Baltimore, and our neighbor at the time was the organist for the Baltimore Symphony Orchestra.
Okay.
So I just started taking piano lessons with him. And there you have it. But I got involved in theater in middle school. I joined the drama club just because I thought that's what all the cool kids were doing. And it wasn't until many years later where I was like, I don't think those were actually kids.
But they were now.
They're what I thought the cool kids were. And the first show that I was in was Oliver. And I played Mr. Brownlow, who's like the rich old guy that adopts Oliver. But the big story of my time in Oliver was that in rehearsal I fell and I broke my ankle. I broke my ankle, and because it was like a middle school after school show, you rehearse for months and months and months.
Yeah.
So by the time the show opened, my cast was off and I was walking again, but I still had a bit of a limp. I think the show opened like a week after I got my cast off, and so I had a cane. And I was playing this old man, and all of the parents were like, your limp was so convincing. Like they thought I had gone through this physical training for the role to play this old man with a cane.
No.
So that's my falling down during a show.
Making your debut in New York, either on Broadway or off Broadway, is a big deal because it only happens once. What was it for all of you? You had just gotten here, right?
Yeah. My official Broadway debut was in Groundhog Day.
Yeah.
So that means 15 minutes into our show, we stopped. And because we had emergency, our set was very complicated with all these 5 turntables. And so, we made it 15 minutes in, and then we had to full stop our show. Well, the audience waited for 50 minutes, 50. Everyone got a free drink in the lobby. And at that point we realized,
you guys?
no, but at that point we realized we're not going to be able to start over and do this. So what we did is we pushed all of the furniture from the set to the front of the stage and gave a concert version of the rest of our show for whoever decided to stay. And they all got free tickets to come back again. So that is an unforgettable experience. I'm so happy to have.
Ryan, for you.
My Broadway debut was last year in Wicked, and we 15 minutes before half hour, the dance captains just wanted me to come on stage and run Dancing Through Life one more time, just to kind of get it out of my body and just do it one more time, right? And there's this part where, Fiora kind of climbs all over and jumps all over everything, but there's this part where he climbs up on a ladder, and I had just gotten these brand new, custom made for me, gorgeous tanned leather boots, and they were rubberized on the bottom, but they weren't rubberized right here above the heel area, and when I hooked into the rung of the ladder, it slipped, and I fell off the ladder and landed on my ankle like this on the night of my Broadway debut, which was also September 11th. So,
Not the,
but
yes.
the anniversary of it was a crappy day. Okay, so I'm the sort of person where I'll cough twice, and I'm on the internet trying to figure out how it is possibly SARS, and so I'm on the ground, my ankle's broken, I'm not going to be able to perform, and my dance captain, who is amazing, he was just sort of okay, stand up, just let's see how bad it is. And so I start walking around, and it hurt, but it wasn't the worst thing ever, and so I ended up doing the show, but landing on my ankle and that initial pain, I was certain that I had just injured myself and could not do my Broadway.
Ruined your career.
But I did it, and we didn't stop. We didn't do a concert version of Wicked last night. So
that would be
a little different.
They put you in the wheelchair. They put you in her chair,
Oh my God, yeah. I played Nessa that night.
Nessa
I
Rose.
was great Nessa, I don't even play.
Now, was it Ordinary Days for you?
Ordinary Days
Yeah.
was my off-Broadway debut and my professional New York
Which we all fell in love with,
debut.
just so you know.
Oh, that's very
All
sweet.
right, so tell me about that.
I'm trying to. It was kind of all a blur, as these guys can probably attest. During previews, the writers are like, "What's happening?" But I do. The thing I remember about that first performance was I think I didn't realize that first previews of new shows are this thing for fans, and there were these people who came out and were so excited, and the energy was like palpable, and just people who were so hungry for new stuff and so supportive, and would hang on afterwards to talk to all the actors afterward. I mean, you really feel like you're part of this community when you're doing a show in New York, and I think it was something that I hadn't realized until it happened. Is that that's the beautiful thing about theater, is it brings people together quite literally, and there's nothing else quite like it.
Yeah.
Well put. You should be a writer.
Finally, if you could sum up the best part of the experience, like I said, this is such a beautifully delightful, dark comedy, so clever with the writing, the book, the performances. If you could sum up the best part of the experience, what is it for each of you with working on this?
I would say the family it's created, both backstage and off stage in the house. We have all been through this thing together and raised this baby together, and I know this has not been the longest process. It's relatively quick for a new musical, but I feel so bonded to each and every person in it, like we've been doing it for decades. And then also, because it is a weird, dark, little cult following of a thing, the fans who come and see it and the people who take away what they wanted and needed from it, I know will remember this for the rest of their life and will continue to follow what we do because of this nugget of a show.
I mean, the community was mine too, but I'll give you another one just to hear myself talk. My favorite part of most processes is the rehearsal part of it. I just think there's something so, especially with a new work, there's something so amazing about okay, this is literally nothing, and in 4 weeks it's going to be a full budget, all in show. And just some of those initial rehearsal days where we would just kind of sit down and talk about who are these people and what's the point? Why write this? Why is this an important story to tell? And to come to this common consensus of what we were doing, why we were doing it, and how we were planning to make it happen. That part is always special, and it felt especially special on this one. And I guess I can't really pinpoint why it felt especially special, but it just did. I think we were all kind of holding hands on the precipice and just really looking forward to jumping.
Beautiful. Adam, for you.
I'm going to riff on Taylor's answer about just this group of people that have been assembled to make this show happen. And something that speaks to me about it is this idea of the legacy of musicals and the history of musical theater. And I think us being led by Lonnie Price, who's this legendary guy who was mentored by Hal Prince, and just the American musical theater is in his bones. And so with him leading us, and then working with this cast, most of whom I'm working with for the first time, that sense of receiving wisdom from above from Lonnie, and then getting to see work with these exciting people for the first time, that I hope is the beginning of a relationship there. It just felt really exciting, and this idea of the tradition of musical theater being brought into this moment and trying to make something fresh out of that felt very palpable the whole time.
Well, what's really great is that Roundabout has this commission thing they do, and I mean, thanks to them, they've given us 2 incredible musicals by you. I mean, you're not many people aren't given that chance anymore to create a new show. So I want to thank you for that. I've had a blast sitting with all of you. I've watched all your careers grow from when you all started, working your way up, and just following your career too. You have so many fans at BroadwayWorld. So thank you for sitting with us today.
Thank you.
Don't you wanna be a somebody, a guy? like I own the whole damn place. Yeah, it's okay dreaming, but I'm not sure I'm that guy. Come on, Pat, would all that make us happy? We will be there.